Hashem Na'aseh v'Natzliach. Shur Torah, Bruchim Habayim. We are back here doing our weekly shiur, Stump the Rabbi, where you guys ask questions and BeEzrat HaShem, Kadosh Baruch Hu, will give us the answers after a little bit of a divrei Torah. We have a Shavuot coming up in a few days, big Matan Torah. We have obviously Israel being under attack. So a lot going on, Baruch Hashem. A lot going on. So tonight's shiur will be for a refuah shlema for Rabbanit Levana bat Sarah, Rabbanit Sarah bat Anat, Rav Ephraim ben Shulamit, Avi Mori David ben Nesriya. May Hashem also bring him back home safely and protect all of Am Yisrael. Doris bat Jora, Yitro ben Avraham, Talia bat Sarah, Orit bat Ilana, Joshua ben Noach, and also for a Atzlacha Rabba as well, and also Atzlacha Rabba for Yitro ben Avraham, Oshri ben Doris, Gabi ben Doris, Elad ben Doris, David ben Nesriya, Alex ben Noach, Netanel Yosef ben Noach for also Zivug Agun, Reuven Chaim ben Pala Parel, Marsha bat Julie, Ayla bat Marsha, Samuel ben Marsha, Cephas ben Marsha, Alexander ben Marsha, and Shaul ben Farzane. Kedosh Baruch Hu yivarech otam, and all of Am Yisrael with a refuah shlema, atzlacha rabba, and all of the wonderful supporters that we have, the righteous Noahides, the Jews, the good people around the world, and literally from every corner of the world, people that are watching our shiurim, and even just the people that are just watching the shiurim without contributing anything other than their time and dedication to watching our shiurim. We also are very grateful to you. Thank you very much for watching the shiurim and supporting them by simply learning Torah with us, Baruch Hashem. So just a brief update. Again, I constantly remind everyone, please download the app, the BeEzrat HaShem app. We are so soon going to be launching a live feature where you're going to be able to start watching the lectures live feed and on the app. So BeEzrat HaShem, this is coming soon. Second thing is you go to the App Store on iPhone or on Google. It's called BeEzrat HaShem, BeEzrat HaShem. Go there, download it, and watch the lectures from there. Second thing is also for anyone that wants to get the USBs for the Tikkun HaBrit lectures that we have. Doesn't include the movie, but has over 100 lectures in there and many other movies. Or the Pirkei Avot series, all 179 lectures. We have, right now we're doing buy one, get one free. So anyone that wants to get one and also wants to get something for somebody else, in essence what we're doing is we're going to be investing into your kiruv. You buy the USB for yourself, we'll give you one for your friend. You buy a few, we'll give you a few. And so that's another thing that anyone that wants to get the USBs, we're also going to try to see if it's worth it for us to invest and get USBs for the other series, because I think watching the series is in some type of set format is the best way, but that's again my opinion. So I want to see if people want to do that for the other series before we print out a bunch of them and spend a lot of money. Aside from that, also for all of those people that want to do kiruv in their community, we have quite a few different options. We have these cards that I've talked to you about, the movie cards. You put this in your neighborhood, different places, Judaica stores, supermarkets, the Bet Knesset, Bet Midrash, all these different places. You put a few of these cards, you could help a lot of people. We have the cards about the Tikkun HaBrit movie, Hashem Took Back His Millions movie, are both on this card. Then there's also, for those of you that live in communities like in Brooklyn, Queens, different parts of California that have a lot of people that unfortunately fell for the trap of the Satan in the business world and in our cash advance business. You want to get some of these cards for your community, please let me know. I'll send it to you for free. These specific cards, I'll send it to you for free because I know that the Satan is too big for anyone to actually pay for it. So we'll send it to you for free. We'll be partners with you, just give them out. That's another thing. We also have these two bookmarks. Two bookmarks that we have, Tikkun Abrit bookmarks, that also have different quotes from the sages about Tikkun Abrit. Good as a reminder, not only for where you left off on your Sefer, but also a reminder to protect your Brit. So we have these bookmarks as well. You can give them out in your community, keep them for yourself. Point is, there's a lot of good things that we're trying to make and produce, so the word continues to get out there, not only digitally, but also in something material. So that's out there. We have the campaign to help the poor. Today we released a 16-minute video where you see in the beginning of the video, if anybody noticed, even if you don't speak Hebrew, you notice that after Rabbi Ephraim speaks for a minute, the woman that's made the video with her husband is one of our team members in Eretz Yisrael and distributes the food. If you notice, her voice cracks and she starts crying while she's telling you what's happening in Eretz Yisrael with all of the rockets, the coronavirus, on top of the poverty. So if anyone didn't notice it, you could watch the video later today and see it's a very emotional situation over there. We had some people that got hurt, Shem Yishmor, in Eretz Yisrael. Baruch Hashem, there's many miracles also. But the food drive continues to help the poor over there. And right now, there's more poor than ever before, just because of what's happened in the last year. And the Arab terrorists are simply, messengers that Hashem is sending to the world to wake us up with, he started trying to wake us up over the last year when we didn't wake up and do enough tshuva with the coronavirus. He sent us the wake-up call during Parashat Bechukotai, where he had 45 tzaddikim taken from the world on the Lag BaOmer, on the celebration day of one of the greatest Tanaim that ever lived, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And when that didn't wake up enough people, he sent us another stick. All of these Arab terrorists, Imach Shimam V'Zichram, are all over Israel. They're not like in the past where they're in the borders or coastlines or things like that. They're literally everywhere. My father, God bless him, is in Tel Aviv right now, stuck in the hotel, can't move anywhere. People are scared to go in the streets. And no one can depend on anything other than Hashem at this point, because even the army is unfortunately in a situation where soldiers are scared to go outside and be next to these Arabs because they're not allowed to kill them. Yes, I said it right. You're not allowed to kill these Arab terrorists. One soldier killed an Arab terrorist after he tried killing a few people, and I think he actually hurt a few. And they put him in jail. They put the soldier in jail. And another video I have, which I'm going to put on this video tomorrow when you see it on YouTube, I have a video of some of you may have seen it, where you see a group of Arab terrorists, Arab terrorists fighting with a female Israeli soldier to take her gun and shoot her and everybody else. Okay? She's fighting them. And there's another Israeli soldier right next to her doing virtually nothing. Instead of shooting all of them, what does he do? He's on the floor like pulling one of their legs or anything like that. Now, I don't know what country you live in, but I can bet anything that in every other country in the world, anyone that tries to take the gun of a police officer, needless to say a soldier, on the spot, gets shot in the face, and that's it. You have to say Kaddish on him. On the spot. In America, if you look at the gun of a policeman, already you're suspect. You try to grab the gun of a policeman, most likely you're not going to make it through the day. Most likely, they're going to have to already set up a nice coffin for you, and you're finished. To try to take the gun, and not only the gun, talk about a semi-automatic weapon from a soldier, and a group of them nonetheless, not one guy. And not only is the woman helpless, she can't really do anything, but on top of it, the idiot next to her is doing nothing. But he's not really an idiot because of himself. He's an idiot because he's serving the Israeli government, Imach Shimam V'Zichram, these stupid people that are killing the soldiers, these poor soldiers. by telling him that if you shoot the Arabs, you're going to go to jail. So the poor guy is unfortunately at a situation where he's helpless because he figures, listen, if I save this girl by shooting these guys, I'm going to ruin my life. So maybe it's better off to just grab a shoe. The poor girl, she doesn't know what to do because she's got 5-6 guys, trying to kill her. And no one's able to do anything. And there's one guy taking a video of the whole thing. The whole thing is a complete joke. The Israeli government is literally the worst government in the history of man, and this too is a punishment on the people. As the Gemara in Masechet Sotah at the end, page 49b, and also Gemara Masechet Sanhedrin promises that at the end of days, time before Mashiach, we're going to have leaders that give us rules that are against our own people, meaning our leaders are going to give us rules that hurt us instead of protect us. And that's what you have, these Bibi and Avigdor and Lapid and all of these Reshaim Arurim, one after another. This is what they're putting all of the Israeli soldiers, all of the Israeli civilians in danger because of their stupidity, arrogance, and complete heretical behavior. And you can't stop but just ask yourself, Ribbono Shel Olam, why is it that we have these leaders? And then you already have an answer in the Gemara, unfortunately. Now, Rabotai Yekarim, this is all happening at a time where we have a time that technically we're supposed to be celebrating. We're supposed to be celebrating a time that we have Matan Torah, receiving the Torah. The Gemara in Masechet Nedarim says that it's permitted for a man who is a Torah scholar to reveal himself as in such a place where people don't know who he is. And we learned this from Ovadia. Ovadia, the prophet, who didn't start as a prophet, started actually as a non-Jew, who later on converted to Judaism and became a prophet. In the book of Kings 1, chapter 18, verse 12, Ovadia tells Eliyahu Hanavi, and your servant has feared Hashem since my youth. Meaning I've had fear of the Almighty since I was a baby. He's, in essence, disclosing very admirable traits, but nonetheless, things that are usually kept private. But he's telling them to Eliyahu Hanavi, so Eliyahu Hanavi knows who he is. And the Gemara says from there we learn that if you are a Torah scholar and you're at a place where people don't know you, then you can tell them who you are. You can tell them you wrote all these books. You can tell them you give all these lectures and all of the things that seem like you're arrogant, but no, opposite. You have to let people know who you are so they know who they're dealing with. Maybe they want a shiur, when they want chizuk, maybe they don't want you to do brit milah, and so on and so forth. But if you are at a place where people already know you and they know that you wrote books and you give lectures and so on, and you start talking about all of the wonderful things that you have acquired through your life, how many times you completed the Shas, and how many books you wrote, and so on and so forth, that's gava srucha. That is a disgusting arrogance. So here the Torah tells us that even the behavior of a Torah scholar has in itself to show honor for the Torah, but also protection of the Torah. But it has to be treated with care. So the question is, Rabotai, why do we have to treat this Torah with such care? Where the Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin says that b'makom sheyesh chilul Hashem en kavod larav, in a place that there's desecration of the Almighty, you do not even consider the honor of the rabbis. Meaning, if you see that there's chilul Hashem somewhere, you see that they're hosting a heretic as a speaker, I recently saw in a wonderful clip that was made by some tzaddik that made about exposing some of these heretics, Ephraim Goldberg, Asher Meza, and I believe a few others, Yonatan Levi, and somebody else, and just started this new YouTube channel to expose some of the people that we've spoken about in the past. And you see that some of the things that he brings up, I myself didn't even know. We see that these people, that these Reshaim were hosting themselves, or people were hosting them. So if you see that what your community is hosting these heretics, and the rabbis are not doing anything about it, you have to scream foul. You have to say something to people. Listen, rabbis, you guys are not doing anything. We have to warn the community that there's a heretic among us. There's a heretic among us that could hurt us. But unfortunately, most people don't want to fight for the Torah. They don't want to fight for the Torah. The question is, why do we need to fight for the Torah? Why can't the Torah fight for itself? So the Gemara specifically says, in a place where there's Chilul Hashem, even honor for the rabbis is not considered. Even honor for the rabbis is not considered. Why? The honor of Hashem is priority above all, including the above all of your respect for your parents, above all respect for your siblings, above all respect for everybody else in the world. You have to honor Hashem, love Hashem more than everybody in the world. And by honoring Hashem, that means that you have to protect this Torah and fight for it. It is not that He needs you to protect it and fight it, but rather that He wants you to do it. He desires for you to do it, and you're obligated to do it. The question is, Rabotai, during this time, have we been honoring the Torah the right way? If we have, then the Israeli government wouldn't even exist as it is today, full of secular liberal lefties. The way that the Judaism is around the world wouldn't be the way it is. Aside from all of the good that we do have, Baruch Hashem, in the world, there's unfortunately a lot of heretical behavior in different communities, and very few people are willing to fight for it. In fact, many people don't even want to fight for the Torah, even in their own homes. Their wife wants to go to the beach on Shabbat and walk around practically naked in a bathing suit, and the husband doesn't want to do anything for it. Why? No, I want to have shlom bayit. What's shlom bayit? Your wife looks like a zonah. She looks like a prostitute. She's walking around with underwear in front of other people, and you don't want to fight for the Torah there. At least fight for your marriage. But he doesn't realize that it's for his marriage either. So people don't want to fight for the Torah. They think that the Torah can fight for itself. So comes Shavuot. Shavuot is the day of Matan Torah. And here we have to speak of what took place at Mount Sinai. What took place at Mount Sinai? And the reason why, Rabotai, is the Sefer Daf on Daf. Daf al Daf brings many Chachamim throughout the ages, including the Ramchal, Rabbi Chaim Moshe Luzzatto, saying that the dates of the Chagim, the dates of the Jewish holidays, are not just random dates that, like the Goyim have. They just decided that December 24th is going to be something, and decided that November something is going to be something, and decided that these days mean something. But in reality, if you understand the difference between the Jewish calendar versus the Gregorian Christian calendar, you understand that there are worlds away where if you celebrate your birthday or some type of day according to the Gregorian calendar every year, in reality, if you track the exact years, you'll see that the day is not the same. Meaning, January 1st is 10 years later is not exactly 10 years later if you're celebrating January 1st because of how the Gregorian calendar is set up. It's not the same day. There's leap years and so on. Only the Jewish calendar is exactly the same day, where your birthday 10 years later is really your birthday and not just incidentally the same date. And when people understand the Jewish holidays are not just random days, comes the Ramchal and many other Chachamim that are quoted on the Sefer Daf al Daf, we say that these dates are not just random days, but rather these are the days that the heavenly bodies, the different angels and things that Hashem manages in the upper worlds, are changed in such a way to repeat what happened, what transpired on that day originally. Meaning the way that the heavenly bodies operated and functioned, and let's say the gates of heaven were opened to bring mercy and miracles. And a day like Chanukah, for example, the Bnei Yisachar, one of the sages, say that this happened 2,000 years ago, and you're celebrating Chanukah today. Same thing. The heavenly bodies are the same thing. Same thing with Matan Torah. 3,333 years ago, we got the Torah. Lots of stuff happened. Hashem opened up the seventh heavens, showed Am Yisrael and Od Milvado, there's nothing else but Him. He showed them everything that we can imagine and everything that we cannot imagine, even if we lived 1,000 years. He showed them all of the different things that He has in His creation. But nonetheless, nobody else is running the show other than Him. And a lot of other things that are mentioned in the Midrash, in the Gemara, in the Chachamim, and all of these extraordinary things, some of which we'll discuss tonight, they are repeated every single year on Shavuot. On Shavuot. This, as a side note, is the reason why the Bnei Yisachar say that for the holiday of Chanukah, they instituted the holiday a year after the event took place. Why a year after the event took place, the whole event of Chanukah and the celebration? Why a year? He said, let us wait and see if the heavens are the same a year from now as they are today, where they woke up the neshamot, the souls of Am Yisrael to yearn for tshuva, to yearn for Torah. There's also a lot of mercy on that day. Let us see if the same thing happens on this exact date a year from now. If it is, then we know that it's the will of Hashem to institute this rabbinical holiday called Chanukah. Now Shavuot is a biblical holiday. And nonetheless, it's the only holiday that we have that does not have a date. All of the other holidays have a date. Shavuot does not have a date. It's counted exactly the 7 weeks plus 1 from Pesach. But nonetheless, the heavenly bodies are operating on Shavuot the same way that they did many, many years ago. 3,333 years ago. Now, what does that actually mean? What happened at Mount Sinai? We open up the Gemara, Masechet Shabbat, page 129b. Here the sages are talking about how the medical treatment that was popular at the time by the best physicians in the world, both the Jewish and non-Jewish medical experts, was to do something called bloodletting. And it was very, very popular until, not too long ago. Bloodletting, they believed, when you made little incisions on the person's body, allowed blood to come out, the toxins would leave as well. Some people even to this day believe in it, but nonetheless, this was very common, not so common anymore, but this was very common among the best medical experts in the world. And it's mentioned in the Torah, it's mentioned in the Gemara, and the Chachamim said the following, that there are specific days that you should not do bloodletting. In today's world, it's more equivalent to having a surgery. But nonetheless, Chachamim said that letting blood on the eve of Yom Tov is dangerous. But not just on Yom Tov. On a regular Yom Tov, it creates weakness. But on Shavuot, it's actually dangerous. And therefore, the sages decreed that one is not allowed to do bloodletting on an eve of any Yom Tov, lest he make the mistake and do it on the eve of Shavuot. Meaning, to do bloodletting generally during the week, not a problem. But to do it on the eve of Yom Tov, any Yom Tov, is not a good idea because it weakens the person, and you don't need to be weak on Yom Tov. But specifically and uniquely on Shavuot, forbidden. Why? It's dangerous to do it on Shavuot. Dangerous to do it on Shavuot. I would say, you can say, same thing with a surgery, unless it's a life-threatening surgery. If it's an elective surgery, it should not be done on the eve of Shavuot. Why? Why Shavuot? What's so special about Shavuot? Well, it's so special because it's so dangerous to do this that they instituted a rule that you're not allowed to do bloodletting on the eve of any Yom Tov. Why? Because there are different Yom Tovs, and if you don't know the halacha precisely that Shavuot is dangerous and therefore don't do it, and you just, you figure you're allowed to do it on the eve of Pesach, you're allowed to do it on the eve of, it's not recommended, but you're allowed to do it. It's just Shavuot that you're not allowed, but you forget it, and you end up doing bloodletting. On Shavuot, you could be putting your life in danger. So therefore, they instituted a ruling, no bloodletting on any Yom Tov, on the eve of any Yom Tov. No bloodletting. Of course, you're not allowed to do it on Yom Tov itself, but on the eve, meaning when it's not holiday yet, no bloodletting. Why? Why? So comes the Gemara and says, because on this day, Rabotai Yekarim, there's a great danger. What is this danger? For on this day of Shavuot, a wind blows, a special wind that existed 3,333 years ago. And the name of this wind is Toveach, meaning it's a angel. What does Toveach mean? The slaughterer. Why is this wind flying around the world on the eve of Shavuot? Because on this day, this wind was hovering at Mount Sinai, waiting to see if Am Yisrael is going to accept the Torah or not. Because had the Am Yisrael rejected the Torah, the wind, Toveach, would have slaughtered them all. Their bodies and their flesh. Hashem yishmor v'yatzil. Hashem yishmor v'yatzil. The Chatam Sofer over here says it wasn't just at the whole time, but rather to see if Am Yisrael is really going to fulfill what they said when they said we will do and then we will listen. Because if they did not make that declaration, the wind would have slaughtered them on that very day. So, here we see that Matan Torah wasn't like the movies, wasn't like they perhaps tell people in kindergarten and sometimes in Yeshiva Ketana that it was a nice, wonderful event, everybody had a good time. It's a big threat. You had a special angel in the image of a wind that his name is Slaughterer. We find out later on, obviously, it's also the Satan, the Malach HaMavet, the angel of death. But the question is, why is he here? Well, it says, it's here because in case Am Yisrael does not accept the Torah. Does not accept the Torah. That's it. As a side note, Rabbi Yaron Reuven says that the time of Shavuot is also a time for Segula, for having miraculous health recoveries. Because just like Am Yisrael was miraculously healed from all wounds and all deformities, anyone that was blind was able to see, anyone that was deaf was able to hear, and everyone recovered completely, became perfectly fit at Mount Sinai, because the Shekhinah of Hashem does not go to a place where there's imperfection. On this it is written, Ish Isha Zachu Shekhinah Benem, when there is a Shlom Bayit in a man and a woman have Shlom Bayit, have a peace in the home, the Shekhinah is part of that partnership. It's part of that partnership, because really in the spiritual world, talk about a little bit Kabbalistic issues, the neshama of a man and a woman don't really connect to each other, but rather they connect to the Shekhinah, which connects them. But the point being is that when there's Shlom Bayit, they both connect to the Shekhinah, and in essence connect to each other thereby through that. But the point is that you have a special day, Shavuot. It's on one end, Rabbi Yashiv says it's a special time for having miraculous health recoveries. On another end, Chachamim say, don't do bloodletting on that eve of Shavuot, because this Toveach wind, this scary angel, is hovering again, now, on the same day, every year. Yeah, but we already accepted Torah 3,000 years ago. Why is he still here? Chachamim explain. The heavens reopen every year at specific days of the holidays, redoing the whole thing. The whole thing is again. Now the question is, why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu threaten Am Yisrael this way? Why did he threaten this way? Well, the Gemara in Masechet Shabbat. Masechet Shabbat, page 88, says the following, 88a, on the pasuk, on the verse in Exodus 19:17, which was the revelation that we had on Mount Sinai, it's written, Vayityetzvu betachtit ha'ar. They stood at the foot of the mountain. What does it mean? They stood at the foot of the mountain. Tachtit ha'ar means that they were under the mountain, not at a next to the mountain, but literally under the mountain. Samar Rabbi Avdimi Bar Chama Bar Chasa, Rav Avdimi Bar Chama Bar Chasa, one of the Amoraim, comes and says, this teaches us that the Holy One, blessed is He, took Mount Sinai, lifted it in the air, and put it on top of Am Yisrael, saying to them, if you accept the Torah, fine. This will be like our chuppah, like in a Jewish marriage, you have a chuppah. It's one of the mitzvot, a very important mitzvot, to have a kosher chuppah, a wedding ceremony is to have a chuppah. And this is this will be our chuppah. Mount Sinai will be the chuppah. On the other hand, if you reject my Torah, this will be your burial ground. This will be your burial ground, Hashem Yishmor V'Yatzil. Now, this is another threat. It's not the same threat. You already have a wind named Toveach, hovering everywhere, saying, by the way, guys, hey, I'm just here. I'm going to kill all of you if you don't accept the Torah. On the other hand, Hashem puts the mountain on top of us. Hashem, by the way, it's either a wedding or your funeral. Whichever one you want, same price. Then the Gemara says, another place, in the same page, page 88, we have a verse in the Torah that says something extraordinary. David HaMelech says in a Tehillim 76:9, it says, Mai dechtiv, Amar Chizkiah, Mai dechtiv, Chizkiah said, what is the meaning of what's written in this verse in Tehillim, in Psalms 76:9, that says, Mishamayim mishmat din eretz yira ushketa, where it says, from heaven you made judgment, meaning the Torah, you made judgment heard, the earth became afraid and grew calm. So the question is, if it became afraid, why did it grow calm? And if it grew calm, why was it afraid from the begin with? Meaning that the earth was petrified, but then it grew calm at the time of Matan Torah. So comes Resh Lakish, one of the greatest Baalei Tshuva that ever existed, and says that's because in Bereshit, chapter 1, verse 31, HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes a deal with witnesses being the heaven and the earth. He says, you are my two witnesses. There has to be two witnesses to anything in Judaism. Has to be two witnesses. This is why the Satan is always a witness against the person, and the person's own neshama is a witness against him if he does a sin. So when he goes up to Shamayim, both the Satan is one witness, and the person's own neshama is a witness for that sin. So here Resh Lakish says, there was a deal that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made with the creation, and the two witnesses were the heaven and the earth. And he said to them, if Am Yisrael accepts the Torah, we will get to Shabbat. The world will continue. If they do not accept the Torah, I'm bringing back the world to Tov Vavoh, to complete destruction, nothing. What is this deal? It says, Resh Lakish, the deal was stamped where it says, Vayi Boker Yom HaShishi. And there was evening and there was morning, the sixth day. Vayi Erev Vayi Boker Yom HaShishi. There was evening and there was morning, Yom HaShishi. He says, if you look at it, all the first 5 days of the creation, it says it was evening, it was morning, first day. It was evening, it was morning, second day. It was evening in the morning, third day, and so on and so forth. But when it gets to Friday, Yom Shishi, it doesn't say it was evening, it was morning, sixth day, but rather it was evening, it was morning, the sixth day. There's an extra hey, Hashishi. In the first one it says Yom Rishon, Sheni, Shlishi, Revi'i, but for Shishi, for the sixth day, it says Hashishi. What is Hashishi? That hey was the signature of the deal that Hashem made with the creation. Says if they accept the Torah, then they'll arrive on the seventh day, which is Shabbat. If not, I'm destroying everything. They're never going to see Shabbat. I'm never going to give them Shabbat. I'm bringing back the world to its original state of Tov Vavoh, complete nothingness. And the signature is that hey. As a side note, hey is also Gematria 5, the numerical value for 5. 5 books of Moses. So here we see that the Gemara says that the entire creation had a deal with Hashem. And for 2,448 years it was aware of this deal and scared to death. Why? Because there's angels of trees, there's angels of the ground, there's angels of the animals, of the different things, all of the angels of all of creation. The whole creation knew about this deal and knew that if Am Yisrael accepts the Torah on the 6th of Sivan, 2,448 from creation, everyone continues to live. If not, everyone dies. Not just the people, not just Am Yisrael, not just the Goyim, everything gets destroyed. So the whole world, as David HaMelech says, was afraid. Not just afraid, petrified for 2,448 years, waiting for Matan Torah, waiting for this big day to see if Am Yisrael is going to accept it. And then it calmed, as the verse says in Tehillim, chapter 76, verse 9. Why did it come? Because they said yes. They said yes, Na'aseh v'nishma, we'll take it. So we see here, Rabotai, that Matan Torah wasn't a walk in a park. In fact, it was a very, very scary event. And this is not some, as many of these heretics like to make fun of the Haggadot, of these types of stories. Say, this is mythical, this is nonsensical, you don't have to believe it. Wrong. Why? This is halacha. Halacha. How do I know it's halacha? Shulchan Aruch. Ilchot Pesach. Siman 468. Taf Samechet. And over here it says, נהגו שלא להקיז דם בשום ערב יום טוב ואין לשנות. Here the Ramah says the custom was not to do any bloodletting on any eve of a Yom Tov, and there's no changing this. No changing this. This is not like you feel like you don't, no changing this. You can't just simply, this is it. Paskin and Shulchan Aruch. Comes the Chafetz Chaim and Mishnah Berurah. Why? Why did Rabbi Yosef Karo, the Rama, why did they mention this? Why is this custom even mentioned here? Comes the Chafetz Chaim and says in Ot Lamed Chet, on this Siman in Shulchan Aruch, and he says, Shelo Le'akiz, this particular part says, the Be'erev Shavuot Yetza Shel Dishmo Tibuach, that on the eve of Shavuot, there's a certain demon by the name of Tibuach, where Ve'ilu lo kiblu Yisrael et Torah, are tavach le'u, libsaryo v'ledemyo, that if Am Yisrael would have not accepted the Torah, this Tibuach would have slaughtered Am Yisrael, both their flesh and their bodies and their flesh. V'gazru Rabbanan al kol erev Yom Tov mishum Shavuot, and that's for the sages made a decree that on no eve of Yom Tov are you allowed to do any bloodletting. Ve'al kol panim be'erev Shavuot yesh lachmir, where even if you're going to have certain Chassidut that had leniencies for this case, on different Yom Tov, on Shavuot, you have to be stringent. You have to be stringent. So this is, Rabotai, not Nagada. This is Halacha. That this giant angel, called the Slaughterer, came to destroy Am Yisrael Hashem Yishmo. Came to destroy if they did not accept the Torah. And therefore the sages passed the Halacha. Now, the question is, Rabotai, why? Why all these threats? Why all these threats to accept the Torah or not? And you can say, listen, he made a deal, and you're right, but there's more. Well, if they don't know the Torah, they don't know how to live, and you're right, but there's more. There's more. Now, the Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin, page 43b. One of my favorite sages, if not my favorite actually sage. I love hearing the words by him. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi. Amar Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi says, Kol azoveach et yitzro umitvadeh alav מעלה עליו הכתוב כאילו כיבדו להקדוש ברוך הוא בשני עולמים, העולם הזה והעולם הבא. דכתיב זובח תודה יכבדני. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi says, whoever slaughters his evil inclination, his yetzara, and confesses the sins that he committed on its account, Scripture considers it, meaning the Torah considers it, as if he has honored the Holy One, blessed is he, in both worlds, this world and the world to come, as it is written in Psalm 50, verse 23, he who slaughters the sacrifice of confessions honors me. So here, Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi says a peculiar teachings. Unlike many other places where it says, whoever overcomes their Yetzirah, Ezu Gibor, who is strong, who's like a hero, someone that overcomes the Yetzirah. But here Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi said, no, something else. He says, whoever is Zoveach, whoever slaughters his Yetzirah, not just overcomes the desire to go to a place he's not allowed to go to, the desire to wear forbidden clothes, the desire to do something wrong, but rather, whoever slaughters the Yetzirah and confesses the sins, meaning does tshuva, on such a person, it's written as if he honored Hashem in this world and the next. Who's better than him in so many ways? But why does he use zoveach? Why does he use zoveach? Because one who slaughters his evil inclinations, says the Maharsha, by taking control over his basic desires and refusing to allow them to control him. That's the difference. Not just overcoming by not looking once, by simply saying, listen, this addiction to drugs, to immorality, to cheating, lying, and so on and so forth, it's not going to run my life. As the Rabbi Yochanan says in Masechet Sukkah, that Ever Katan Yesh Ba'adam Masbio Savea Mar'ivo Raev. As a small member in a man's body, someone that starves it will always be satiated, and someone that feeds it will always be starving. So if a person constantly feeds the Yetzer Hara, in so many words, they become a slave to their desires. They become a slave to pornography addictions, to immorality, to cheating, to lying, to eating, to drugs, to everything else. So the Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi says, if you slaughter your Yetzer Hara, when you say to the Yetzer Hara, you say to the evil inclination, that's it, I'm done with you, you're not going to control my life. I'm just not going to do it. I have a desire to do it, but I'm not going to do it. Why? I know it's wrong. I know it's not good. I know Hashem doesn't want it. You slaughter the Yetzer Hara. This is when a person does tshuva for their transgressions, he gains the merit of honoring Hashem in both worlds. And through the confession of the sins, he ensures himself a place in Olam Haba. And by subduing the evil inclination, he honors Hashem by his conduct in this world. So here we see that the zoveach, to slaughter is you have to slaughter the Yetzer Hara. So the Maharsha continues further on the Masechet Shabbat and says, this is why the Gemara says that this angel was called Tavuach and not Toveach. Why? Really, it should be called Toveach, not Tavuach. It's being named Tavuach. Why? Because Toveach means slaughterer, So if this angel was going to slaughter the Am Yisrael that didn't accept the Torah, that's what the Gemara should be said. But rather the sages are saying, no, this is Tavuach. Why Tavuach? Because he is the slaughtered one, not the slaughterer, meaning that Am Yisrael did accept the Torah, and therefore they slaughtered their Yetzer Hara. They slaughtered their Yetzer Hara, just like Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi says, if you slaughter Yetzer Hara, you become like one that honored Hashem both in this world and the next. Now, the Chachamim toil over this whole issue of what happened at Mount Sinai and so on. The big question is why did Kadosh Baruch Hu have to threaten Am Yisrael with so many different types of threats? First, he made a deal that he's going to destroy the world. Then he said that he's going to send, there's a wind, this Toveach. Then on top of that, he puts the mountain on top of them. Well, if you're already going to destroy the world, what do you need the wind for? And if you're going to drop the mountain on them, why do you have to destroy the whole world? So Rabbi Chaim Paltiel comes up and says the following. He says, because the Kadosh Baruch Hu knew that Moshe and Aaron and their children are going to accept the Torah. And he knew that if he doesn't give this condition, Am Yisrael would say, listen, we really only intended to lehavdil, but to be like the Messianic Jews. We only want the written Torah, that you cannot understand without the oral Torah, but we only wanted the written Torah. Now that you tell us that we want the written Torah and oral Torah, no, we don't want it. So Hashem would have just killed all of them, but Moshe and Aaron he wouldn't have killed. Why? Because Moshe and Aaron would have accepted everything and more. But Hashem did not want that. Rabbi Chaim Paltiel says, no. Hashem said to everybody, including to Moshe Rabbeinu, if all of you don't accept everything, both the written Torah and the oral Torah, I'm destroying you. Meaning, if all of you want to be Messianic Jews, Christians, or anybody that's just some form of heretic that only believes in one part of the Torah, the world ends right now. The world ends. So in case you figure, listen, maybe he'll kill me, but at least my cousin and my kids and so on that are not Jewish, maybe they're going to survive. So, no, Habibi. All your friends, all your family that are not Jewish, they're also going to die. Meaning you have the guilty conscience that you're not only killing yourself, maybe you don't care about yourself, maybe you're suicidal, but you're also killing the rest of Am Yisrael. And let's say you're a self-hating Jew, liberal, lefty, you hate the Jews, you hate yourself, and you have a lot of non-Jewish friends. Oh, you're also going to kill them too by not accepting the Torah. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu put them, covered all the corners. Covered all the corners. It's not just Moshe and Aaron, it's not enough to accept the Torah. It has to be the whole nation. And if you don't care, and you are suicidal, it's not just going to be you. It's also going to be the rest of the nation. It's not only going to be the rest of the nation, it's going to be the entire world. So here, HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a multifaceted threat to make sure that while the world, the entire universe, was petrified for 2,448 years, it wasn't afraid for no reason. It had a very, very big reason to be afraid. And the Tosfot, Dat Skinim, say even worse, Rabotai, even scarier things. Things that actually apply to today. Where he said, what was the conversation like between Am Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu? The Dat Skinim say that the prophet Isaiah is quoted repeating what happened in Mount Sinai, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu said this to Am Yisrael. Chapter 1 in Isaiah, verse number 19 and 20. Im tovu ushamatem tu v'aretz tochelu v'im temanu meritem cherev tukelu ki pi Adonai diber. If you are willing to obey, you will eat the goodness of the land. But if you refuse and rebel, you will be devoured by the sword, for the mouth of Hashem has spoken. Here the Baalei Tosfot, hundreds of years ago, say that was the promise. Not just for the generation of Mount Sinai, but every single generation thereafter gets to follow this whole promise all over again, which unfortunately we see that the sword is following us with all of these Arabs, Imach Shema v'Zichram, all over the place are attacking Am Yisrael, and we cannot do anything about it. It's as if we have our hands tied behind our back, as if we don't have an army, as if we don't have any tanks, as if we don't have anything, and we are being attacked from all sides. And it's not because of the differences between the governments, it's not because of the land, it's not because of the politics, it's because we have not followed the deal that we made 3,000 years ago. We have not followed the deal that we made 3,000 years ago. Now, a person can say, yeah, but I follow it. Why should I be hurt because there's so many people that violate Shabbat? Because we have a rule in Judaism. Just like Kadosh Baruch Hu was not willing to accept Moshe Rabbeinu by himself to accept the Torah, but rather either all of Am Yisrael or nothing. Same thing now. Kol Yisrael aravim zeh lazeh. Everyone of Am Yisrael are benefactors for each other. We all rely on each other. So when there is a Jew in France that desecrates Shabbat, it's going to hurt you in New York. When there's a Jew in New York that's wasting seed, it could hurt a soldier in Eretz Yisrael, potentially even have him killed because of that. Every one of us is responsible for each other, which is the reason why it's a Torah obligation, not a suggestion and not a recommendation. It's a Torah obligation on every single Jew, especially and even more so in this generation, to do everything possible to support Kiruv, to help Am Yisrael do tshuva, either with money, time, skills, effort, whatever they can. They have to support Kiruv and make it a part of their daily life. Have to do it. Have to do it. If that means daily life, not that you're on the internet sharing things because you don't have that kind of time, you're a professional, but rather you take a part of your salary each day you get paid. If you get paid once a week, or once every 2 weeks, or once a month, and you give 10%, 20% of your money for the sake of Am Yisrael doing tshuva. Why? It's a Torah obligation for all of us, because when people sin, the religious people also get punished. This is what's happening in Am Yisrael right now, and this is the reason why you see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is punishing a lot of religious people right now. Not because they're sinning and violating Shabbat, but rather because we're not doing enough to wake up Am Yisrael. We ourselves are still asleep as religious people. We're asleep at the wheel. We're not doing enough. We're not helping Am Yisrael enough. We're not helping the poor enough. We're not helping the widows enough. We're not helping all of those poor people that are still single enough. We're not helping all of the people that are still, away from Hashem enough. We're not helping enough. And the reality is, Rabotai, if every Jew understood this obligation, we would not have the sword chasing us. We would not have the sword chasing us. And this is why, Rabotai, a person needs to understand that although you have certain protection when you are keeping Torah and mitzvot, when there is a national decree, all of us are in the same boat. But on a positive aspect, it's important to know that the Zohar Kadosh in Tikunei HaZohar, Tikun 22, page 65, and in Matok Midvash, it's page 333, says that anyone who protects their brit in the lower world, which is not only the Brit Milah, but it's the Brit Milah doesn't waste seed, the Brit of Shabbat, the Brit of Tfilin, and the Brit of Yom Tov. The merit of those mitzvot are engraved on their soul in the upper worlds, and from him, the angels in the upper worlds and the demons and other scary creatures of the lower worlds, like the Palestinians, and they're also part of that, and all the terrorists and all the anti-Semites and Nazis, both the angels in the upper world and the demons and of the creatures of the lower world are afraid of him. As it is written in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 10, because the name of Hashem is on you, they will fear you. So when someone protects their brit, keeps Shabbat, puts on tefillin every day, honors the Yom Tov, which also means that on Yom Tov, you don't put on tefillin. So just as a side note for everyone who doesn't know, Yom Tov, you don't put on a tefillin. But nonetheless, you do all of that, you have a special protection from heaven individually. Individually. On the other hand, if a person violates even a single one of those brits, he wastes seed, or he desecrates Shabbat on purpose, or he doesn't keep Yom Tov, even if it's the rabbinical one, Yom Tov Sheni, or he doesn't put on tefillin, he violates one of those covenants, one of the brits in the lower world, then the image of their soul in the upper world changes, the way they look change in the upper world, and turns into something that looks like prey to the angels of the upper world and all of the demons and creatures of the lower world. Shem Yishmo v'Yatzil. Hence the reason why when terrorists look at certain people, they see enemy. They see enemy. Or when certain people see certain people, they see enemy. And in Daf 66, Amud 341 Matok Midvash, says that someone that protects the brit has the unique name El Shakai Shin Dalet Yud engraved on their neshama. And when the Yetzirah sees this engravement on their neshama, he runs away from them. He runs away from their neshama, and there's a promise that he will not be able to take away their neshama at the time that they have to leave this world one day after 120. Rather, Hashem himself will take the neshama. Yetzirah will not take the neshama, the Zohar says. But one who is a pogema brit, who wastes seed, then the Yetzirah controls that person as a different God would. Meaning, the Yetzirah becomes their new God. Shem Yishmo. And that person suffers from many different sicknesses of the body. And ultimately, because the body enjoyed the wasting of the seed, the Yetzirah snake will not be satiated until he consumes every single bit of it when that person is finally in the grave. And that soul will feel every bit of that pain at the Chibut HaKever Hashem Yishmo. So this benefit or danger of protecting Brit and so on is on a unique, individualistic perspective. On a national perspective, we have to make sure that we're also worried not only about our own tshuva, but also at everybody else's. This is the time, Rabotai Yekarim, that each and every single one of us has to make a new commitment to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and new things that we're going to take on. We're going to learn more. We're going to give more. We're going to do more. But you have to be specific. Recommit. Remarry HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What else are you going to do? It's Matan Torah. It's not a walk in the park. It's a scary day. Scary because it's a recommitment to all of these things, and knowing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't give us the Torah in a WhatsApp message. He gave us the Torah with awesomeness of beyond our imagination. Anyone that reads the Midrashim of what happened and how Hashem opens up the seven heavens and all of the sounds that existed in the world, and each letter that Hashem spoke was shown in the heavens, and things that are beyond our comprehension. So all of this awesomeness didn't come for free. There's a price for it. And we have to recommit ourselves. Recommit ourselves. If you have an Orthodox synagogue in your community, you have to go. Do not stay home. Go to your synagogue and celebrate with the community. Give them some chizuk. Try to encourage them to take on some more. You yourself take on some more. It's very important that each and every single one of us does more kiruv, does more mitzvot, does more now. Why? Because it's not only that we have tragedy in the world happening left and right, but also this is our remarriage, not anniversary, but marrying a Kadosh Baruch Hu and His Torah once again. BeEzrat HaShem, this will give each one of us a little bit more chizuk, or a lot of chizuk, to do more in order to show HaKadosh Baruch Hu that when we said Na'aseh v'nishma, we wanted to say it. And we didn't just say it because we were scared to say it. But even if we're only doing it because we're scared, the Chachamim say, Makom shelo lishma, ba lishma. Even if a person starts to do everything that it says in the Torah, because he doesn't want to do it, but he's scared, and he's doing it without really wanting to do it, still, it's good to do it, because even if he starts that way, eventually he'll want to do it. So without further ado, you guys can start asking questions, and BeEzrat HaShem will give you some answers. Kadosh Baruch Hu will give us answers. Okay. Michael is saying, good evening, Rabbi. Question. A man has a dream, and in that dream he wasted seed against his will. He immediately wakes up and finds that he did not physically waste seed. Does it count that the man wasted seed? Surely the dream is a warning shot that he needs to do tshuva. So it all depends on why he had such dreams. If he had a dream because he watches pornography on the internet, or he watches immodest movies, or immodest commercials, or anything immodest on TV, on the internet, and so on, then surely this is a sin in itself. And Hashem is warning that person to protect their eyes, because had the seed come out of his body, it would have considered as if he wasted seed on purpose. Now, if he did not have a dream, but seed came out of his body without any dreams, and he also protects his eyes, then that's not a sin. But if it's a result of him watching things that are inappropriate, the Gemara in Masechet Avodah Zarah says a person should watch his eyes during the day so evil does not come to him at night. What is evil? Wasting seed is evil, the Gemara says. So it's very important that a person protects their eyes. If he protected his eyes and seed came out, then that's one thing. But if he didn't protect his eyes, then he has a very serious problem. Now, in your particular case, you're saying that you didn't say whether he protected his eyes or not, but you're implying that he didn't, because you're saying that this is a warning shot. You only get a warning shot to do tshuva if you have a reason to do tshuva. So I'm assuming that this person did not protect his eyes, so Hashem is giving him a warning shot. And it's a problem. It's a problem that he has, and he has to fix it right away. Next question. I'm reading the entire Tehillim book by myself. For myself. Okay, please send me any names that you want for me to daven for. I'm halfway through and taking a small break to watch this. Okay, so in regards to reading Tehillim for people, we have a group on WhatsApp that reads Tehillim every day. Each person commits to a certain amount of Tehillim that they're going to read for a list of sick people that are on a list. If you'd like, you can join that group, and you can be one of the people that reads Tehillim for different people that are sick, and do it that way. As a side note, just because this is a Shiur Torah that we're looking to learn from, it's not a good idea to publicize your mitzvot this way, because you're giving away all the merit that you're going to get for it. So it's best to simply do things privately, where even if you wanted to read Tehillim for people, it's better that you would have sent me or another rabbi or public speaker a message privately, and to give you names if they have, rather than publish such a mitzvah on a public place. Next question, Shaul. Thank you for the teaching. Oh, you're welcome. Baruch Hashem. Leah, does a woman also have to start the night by sleeping on her left and then switching to her right, or does this not apply to women since they are not susceptible to nocturnal emissions? A woman is not obligated to sleep on the left, on the right, like a man does, but there is issues in regards to sleeping on the back or stomach for if women are pregnant, and health issues. There's health issues there. So it's good for a woman to sleep on her side. It's typically healthier than sleeping on the back. But there's no halachic prohibition from doing that. No, for most women, usually there is not much of a issue in regards to resulting from the position that they sleep. But there is an issue if they don't watch their eyes. If women do not watch their eyes and do not watch their speech, for sure they're going to have dreams that are inappropriate, which can lead to creating demons nonetheless. Even though it's not nocturnal emission, it's still a woman does create demons when that happens, and that's what the Ben Ish Chai says. The Ben Ish Chai says that the masturbation by women is forbidden, no different than men, because it creates demons, creates mazikin, and it's forbidden. And the Rambam calls it Maaseh Mitzrayim. He calls lesbianism and promiscuity by women with women, or even themselves, as the acts of the Egyptian women, because that's what they did over there. They were filthy people. So a woman that wants to do what Hashem wants needs to understand that she has to have not just modest clothes, but also modest speech. No cursing, no exaggerated laughing, no speaking to the wrong people, and she has to protect her speech. And also she has to watch her eyes. Many women don't think that watching their eyes applies to them. Watching your eyes does apply to you, as we see from Shema Yisrael, where Kadosh Baruch Hu says to us, "Velo taturu achei levavchem v'achei einechem." He says to all of Am Yisrael, don't follow your eyes and your heart. Not don't follow, guys don't follow your heart. Guys don't follow your eyes. No, it says to all of Am Yisrael. Women have to protect their eyes just like men do. And unfortunately, part of what we do is we help both men and women that have addictions to all types of sins, and one of them is immorality. And some people may be surprised, but the addiction to pornography is more pertinent in women than it is in men. Meaning that statistically speaking, according to recent research, there are more women watching pornography than there are men. Now, of course, the issue is less horrendous with women than it is with men, because the way the seed is and so on. But nonetheless, it is 100% a disgusting behavior. It's immodest, and according to some of the Mekubalim and so on, it's 100% the same sin as wasting seed. But when a woman protects her eyes, protects her speech, and her behavior altogether, she will not have any type of filthy thoughts and dreams of that nature. But sometimes what happens is that a person does tshuva, both a man or a woman, they do tshuva, and they stop making those crimes, but they talk about it all the time. They talk about it like they, listen, remember when we went out to Mexico and we hung out with those girls? The guy is now married to some tzadikah, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids, but he's talking to one of his boys about when they went out and they made 1.5 million sins in some foreign country. He thinks it's funny. Same thing with women. Oh, remember him? Yeah, he was cute. And then she starts telling her girlfriends or boyfriends, whoever, about all of the immoral crimes that they have. This is immodest. This is completely inappropriate. This is something that you should not talk about at all, altogether. In fact, you should be crying over it. That's really the tshuva. Tshuva is to get to the third stage of tshuva, according to the Rambam, is to have remorse over all of the sins that you've made. And part of that remorse is to cry over them. But nonetheless, even if you can't get yourself to cry over them, for sure you shouldn't be discussing these things with just any average Joe. Unless you're talking to some type of consultant or some person that's an expert and can help you with this issue. But to talk about these past sins is not a good idea. And this is part of a woman and a man's tshuva, to know not just controlling their eyes, controlling their mouth, but also what to say, when to say, how to say. There's a lot of things that a person needs to take into account in order to get to a level where they are truly holy. As the Torah says in Parashat Kedoshim, Kedoshim tiyu ki kadosh ani. You be holy because I am holy. Dennis asking, can you explain the Mesilat Yesharim's watchfulness, examining, feeling out? Thank you. I'm sorry, I cannot explain something that took even the Mesilat Yesharim, the Ramchal, entire chapters to explain. You're asking me 3 different things that he wrote individual chapters on, but I give you briefly. Generally speaking, what the Mesilat Yesharim is doing is he's giving you a road of how to do enough tshuva and enough dveikut, enough repentance and cleaving yourself to Hashem to the point where you are going to take one step at a time of cleansing yourself from sins, repositioning your life, restructuring your actions, your mindset, and your overall behavior, to the point where you'll clean yourself from all spiritual filth, elevate your neshama with an eventual goal of getting to Ruach HaKodesh. And he has a nearly identical step process, like it's mentioned in the Gemara, of how to go from wherever you are to Ruach HaKodesh. And that's what he's telling you. Now, as far as to be za'ir, to be careful, that's in so many words. You have to not only be careful of the sin itself, but you have to also think and have a expectation of what could be. Not just the obvious things that's in front of you. You see that there is a inappropriate image in front of you on a screen or in real life, and you look away. That's already that's a different thing. Zeirut is already thinking ahead. Well, I'm not going to go to such and such place because usually that place has immodesty, has gambling, has immorality, has whatever it is. So already being zair, being careful ahead of time. Pishpush, you have to look into your actions themselves, to analyze your actions and see, okay, so I have my finger. It hurts me because I cut my nail too much. But of course, it's not because I cut my nail too much. It's because I did something with my hand that Hashem is rebuking me on. What did I do with my hand that's inappropriate? Now, I didn't do any of the karet sins. I didn't steal any money. What did I do with my hand? Did I do something with it? Did I scratch myself and not do netilah before I started learning Torah or praying? Did I, touch something inappropriate? Did I touch my wife while she was nida, even if it's just a hug? What did I do? And a person is mishfashpesh b'ma'asav. Mishfashpesh b'ma'asav. He's constantly analyzing his actions to see, what am I doing? How can I make it better? And so on. And again, same concept with as far as to look into other things, other places. Where can you get better? Where are you better? Where are you lacking? This is in essence the whole message that the Ramchal brought, but in several different steps, because each step in itself is extraordinary. And my Rav told me that to study that book shouldn't be taken lightly. Many people read it like a pastime reading, but the Ramchal wrote it with Ruach HaKodesh. And even the Gaon Vilna said that had the Ramchal been alive at the time that the Gaon Vilna read the book, he was so impressed. He said he wanted to go visit him, and he said, "Well, sorry, Kvod Rav, the Ramchal already left the world." He said to his students, "If the Ramchal was alive right now, I would crawl on all four across the entire world just to go see him." So to study the Mesilat Yesharim in any of the Ramchal's books has to be done with seriousness. Try to use whatever commentaries available, and don't just rely on your own understanding. But it's good you're asking these things. But again, more details are available in that book, and surely other Chachamim that have commented on the work. Jack is asking, I was wondering if you're going to do Shurim on the Rambam's MOREH NEVUCHIM. That would be awesome. I myself have read some of it, and it's genius. I'm surprised there is not much attention given to that part of the Torah. So I've mentioned in the past, when I asked my Rav, Rav Ephraim Kachlon, he's a genius, and in my opinion, and I think in other people's opinions, if he's not already one of Gedolei Adol, he's surely on his way to becoming one of the Gedolei Adol. He's does things that are beyond the imagination and has a comprehension of the Torah that's really superior to anything that I've ever seen. And I remember when we first started talking and so on, and we started recording his shiurim, and that's what I did for the first couple of years. I did tshuva, is I had him record himself doing shiurim, because we would learn, and I'd say other people need to benefit from this also. Why don't I send you a camera and you start recording them, and then I'll put it on the internet. And at that time, I didn't really know much about putting stuff on the internet, but that's how we started this whole organization. Was originally just with Rabbi Ephraim Shulim being put on YouTube. And one time I asked him, how long do you need to prepare for a shiur? He said, no, I could just do a shiur now. I said, don't you have to prepare? He goes, no, at any given time I have at least 300 shiurim in my head. So at that moment I understood I'm not really talking to a regular person. So when such a person tells you something, you take it seriously, which is the reason for why I have this whole introduction to the answer I'm going to give you. Now, when I asked him about the famous Sefer by the Rambam, called the MOREH NEVUCHIM, or in English, Guide to the Perplexed, my Rav himself told me, you can buy it, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but don't ask me to teach you it. I said, why not? He says, because MOREH NEVUCHIM is not something that should be learned by anyone other than Torah scholars. And not even all Torah scholars should read it, because if you're not biki, meaning an expert and well-rounded across the entire surface of the Torah, it is very easy to misunderstand the message of the Rambam and arrive at heretical thoughts. And one of the greatest proofs that I've seen with my own eyes of what my Rav said is that you see the common denominator among all heretics in the Jewish world is that they all not only have read, but they quote the MOREH NEVUCHIM endlessly, as if it's halacha. MOREH NEVUCHIM is extraordinary work, it's giant, but it's not halacha. What's halacha? The Rambam's Mishneh Torah. They're never going to quote the Mishneh Torah. The foundation of all of our halacha today is Mishneh Torah. That was the biggest part of the foundation of the Shulchan Aruch, is Mishneh Torah of the Rambam. 14 books, that's all of the halacha. But none of these heretics quote the Mishneh Torah of the Rambam. they quote MOREH NEVUCHIM. And every single one of them confuses and misinterprets what he says, whether it's what he said about demons, or what he said about sinners, or what he said about a lot of different issues. And it's very, very dangerous for a person that is not well versed in the entire Torah to read it, needless to say, to teach it. So when I heard my Rav say that, I made one of those mistakes that I see a lot of people also make, where I asked him to teach me the book after I already bought it. Instead of asking him, should I buy the book, I asked him after I bought the book, which is a mistake. If you have a Rav and you use his guidance, you should ask him before you buy the book, not after you buy the book. To ask a rabbi, should you have eaten something after you ate it, or ask him, should I study this after you've already started, it's not really asking him. It's putting, first of all, putting the rabbi in an uncomfortable situation, and also putting yourself in danger. It's like you jumped off a cliff and you're asking, where's the parachute? It's silly. So I made that mistake early on, and I see that Hashem is, Baruch Hashem, giving me measure for measure, and many of my own dear students tell me things after they already do it. But I learned my lesson from there, where I bought it already and I asked him about it, and he said, listen, you can get it, but I'm not going to teach you this book. Now, had we ever gone over some parts of it? Yes, but we've never gone over it thoroughly, because even if he understands it, doesn't mean that I'm at the level to understand it. And even if I'm at the level to understand it, doesn't mean that the massive audience can understand it. And that's the key. And that's also the reason why you're never really going to see the biggest and best rabbis in the world teach this or write extraordinary commentary on it, because it is not part of the foundational teachings of Judaism, and many times can confuse a lot of people because of how complex some of these issues are. It also shows us, the Guide to the Perplexed also shows us that the level of intellect that existed in the world 900 years ago was much, much higher, even in the secular world, than it is today. We know that the rabbinical world, the sages, were much higher than any rabbis in the world are today. Just reality of life. It's the degradation of the generations that's started since the creation of man. But nonetheless, we also see that the secular people that were not religious, also were extraordinarily more intelligent and had bigger minds than the people of today, because the things that the Rambam writes in MOREH NEVUCHIM, he says this is standard teachings for any average person that could understand it and solve all of their problems. But in reality, if you ask any serious Talmid Chacham, especially people that are Gdolim B'Torah and are experts in halacha and even other things as well, they're all going to tell you the same exact thing that I just said. I'm just repeating it, but nonetheless, they'll say the same thing that I just said, that it is not for everyone, and in fact, it's not for most people. And some of the sages at the time already agreed with that back then and actually burned the book. So again, of course, we know it's a holy book, and it's definitely not to be burnt, chas v'shalom, but it's also not to be read by average people. And I know that this, of course, is going to make some idiots want to read the book even more. But as the Mishnah says, let the fools stumble on their own steps. If they want to be fools, let them stumble on their own steps. But when you listen to Chachamim that have completed the Shas, many times they complete the Shas annually, like you complete the seasons of the year, and they read all of these major works, and they write all of these major works, and they say that this is a dangerous work for someone that's not at a specific level. You have to listen to people. The problem is that a lot of people have a very big ego and they don't want to hear it. I remember one time meeting a guy that was, if he kept Shabbat, it would be a surprise. If he kept Shabbat, it would be a surprise. I mean, the guy looked like he not only didn't know anything, but he looked and acted very, very inappropriately, had horrendous traits and so on. And anyway, after the prayer, while they were waiting for Arvit to start, he started looking at the library of the synagogue, and he asked people, "Oh, where's the Zohar here? Where's the Zohar?" And one of the religious guys, this Talmid Chacham named Ephraim, he asked him, "What do you need in the Zohar? What do you need to know?" He goes, "No, I need to read it." He says to him, and apparently he knew him. He says to him, "Don't you think maybe you should read the weekly parasha? Did you read the weekly parasha?" And the guy answers him with chutzpah, saying, "No, that's not for me. I want to go straight to the secrets. I don't waste my time on the Chumash. I go straight to the secrets." And the Talmid Chacham Ephraim, not my Rav Ephraim, this happened in America. He got so upset with him. He says, "Are you serious?" He says, "People like you shouldn't even touch the book of the Zohar. You have no right to touch the Zohar. You don't understand what you're talking about." And the chutzpah answered him back, goes, "Nah, that's exactly like you religious people. You're hiding something from us. I want to go find it." Stupidity of people. And on this it is written in the Gemara, and also it's a quote from the Torah, "Ivelet Adam tisalif darko, that Adonai is aflibo." The Gemara says that the stupidity of man leads him to sin, and then he gets mad at Hashem for punishing him. Unfortunately, many people have an ego, which leads them to further stupidity and making sins. They read things that the rabbi tells them not to read. They go to places that the rabbi tells them not to go to. They do things that the rabbi tells them not to do. And then they get surprised that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is upset with them. Now again, if a person has already read it and studied it and so on, it's not a sin, it's not a problem. But again, as far as why I don't teach it, it's because in short, but obviously in long, after all this extensive response, is because the teaching that I got from my Rav is that it's not work, it's not teachings that is for everybody to learn. Needless to say, it's not for teaching the public. Next question. Is there a reward for not transgressing a negative commandment? Yes. When a person is not transgressing, there is a reward for it, yes. Especially if there is if they hold themselves and they want to make a sin, there is a reward for that. So much so, if, let's say, watching their eyes, some of the Chachamim say that every time a person has the extraordinary desire to do something immoral, wasting seed, promiscuity of some kind or another, if they hold themselves at that moment, they can ask Hashem for whatever they want, and their blessings will be fulfilled for whatever they want. Now, of course, they're not allowed to bring themselves to that test intentionally, because just bringing yourself to that test is a sin in itself. But if a person has a test brought to him, inappropriate thoughts, inappropriate things, and he overcomes that obstacle, and at that moment also thinks for, prays for Hashem for something specific, I've seen miracles happen where their blessings come true. If I can get my non-Jewish mother to abandon belief in JC and keep the Shiva Mitzvot B'nai Noach, since she's not religious anyway, but I know she won't give up celebrating Christmas with trees and lights, not out of religious reasons, but enjoys it, and has been doing it a whole life. Would she still have a portion of the world to come? Yeah, from what you're telling me, if she abandons idolatry, that in itself is a very big thing. If she observes the 7 Noahide laws, that in itself is a very big thing. And if she celebrates the Xmas just for cultural reasons, but has nothing to do with the idolatry and so on, then sure, it's not many would say it's not even a sin for the Noahides. Surely it's a sin for the Jews. For the Noahide, it's some will say it's not even a sin because they're not idolizing anything then, in your case. The regular Christians are idolizing Yoshke. But if she just wants to have a celebration, not a problem. But I'll tell you something even further, is that if you get your mom to abandon the idolatry and observe the Torah, which means that she's going to start learning and knowing what to do and so on, then you'll see that before you know it, within a relatively short period of time, she'll also end up abandoning the any connection to idolatry, i.e. Xmas. So that's something that's bound to happen. It may not happen on day one, but over time, I've seen it happen with many people, that once they abandon idolatry, they also abandon all of the customs that came along with it. Moshe is asking, when someone is losing money, should he invest more in kiruv to sweeten his judgment and judgment of Am Yisrael? The answer to invest more in kiruv is always yes. It's always yes. It's always good for a person to invest into kiruv. But a person should know that they're supposed to be investing in kiruv already ahead of time. Don't invest in kiruv for the sake of the rest of your investments to work, because it's the opposite. It's supposed to be because you already invest a lot in kiruv, Kadosh Baruch Hu will give you a sweet judgment. But nonetheless, a person should always invest in kiruv if they have certain decrees in their life that are negative, whether it be health, money, otherwise. It's always good to invest more and more in kiruv, as the prophet Jeremiah says, "Im totzia kar mizolel kepi tiyeh," that HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells the prophet Jeremiah, if you turn a luggard into a Baal Tshuva, into someone precious, you'll be like my mouth. Meaning that once a person invests money into kiruv, their prayers will be accepted as if Hashem himself prayed it and said it. So when a person already invests in kiruv, then already their life is full of blessing. But if they want to increase it even further, they should invest even more in kiruv. But don't do it otherwise, where you are not investing in kiruv or not investing enough in kiruv, in Torah, but rather you're investing your money into Bitcoin, Schmidtcoin, and all of the other things out there, and you're forgetting about kiruv. But then once the investment starts going down, hold on a second, let me throw the rabbi 500 or 5,000. Maybe that's going to protect my $5 million portfolio. That, Habibi, is playing games with Hashem. Don't do stuff like that. A lot of people do that, and it's a very big mistake. You have to invest on a regular basis, and each person has to constantly show their emunah in Hashem, that they know that Hashem gave them 100% of their money, not 10% of their money, 100% of their money, and it's only the graciousness of Hashem that He tells us to at least invest 10% in Torah. So when a person invests less than 10% of their income in Torah, already, i.e. also kiruv and so on, already shows that they have a misunderstanding of where their money is coming from. And this tends to happen a lot with people that invest in deals. Deals being stock market, real estate, different types of merchant deals and so on, because one of the most powerful tools that a person can have in deal making is capital, is money. So they hate to get rid of money. They hate to get to give away money, because that money is their leverage to do bigger deals and so on. And the bigger the deal, the bigger the potential profit, at least theoretically speaking. So many times people that invest in the stock market or real estate or other types of deals have a very hard time being consistent with their tzedakah, and many times that causes them to lose their blessing, and they only wake up to realize that they lost their blessing after they've already lost a bunch of money. So again, it is very, very important for a person to make investing in Torah and kiruv as part of their daily life. And in so many words, anytime they get paid in anything, they have to write a check. This is not easy in the beginning, but I promise you it gets easier. I know it myself. I do it myself. Anytime I get money, I give tzedakah, and at times it seems like it's, how is the calculation going to work? If I'm going to give this amount of money, I have a certain amount of bills I'm not going to be able to cover, and you have all these calculations that come from the calculator of the Satan himself. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu promises, Levu alai v'ani poreah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says you can even borrow. You can even borrow for the sake of doing my mitzvot, and I'll pay you. Meaning that when you invest money into Torah, whether it's for the sake of kiruv and doing mitzvot, you are guaranteed to end up a winner, even if the calculator breaks and it doesn't make sense. But only if you take it seriously on a regular basis, and not after you've struck it rich and Bill Gates is jealous of you. So that's the thing. A person needs to have a blessing from the beginning to the end, and not after the end already began. Next question. Thank you, Vimesh, for posting the campaign and the video for the Shavuot, helping the poor people. Rochelle's asking, where do we donate for the food drive of the poor? Vimesh just posted the clip, and also the website is www.b as in BeEzrat, H as in Hashem, donate, the word donate, DONATE, .org, bhdonate.org. You go there, that goes to the, and donate there as many millions as you can, and that will go 100% of it, and even more than 100% of it, goes to the poor people. That's also one of the unique policies we have at our organization. When people donate money for us to give to the poor people or to give to the Talmidei Chachamim, we not only give away all of the money and don't keep anything for ourselves, but most of the time we give more than what people give, whether it be transaction fees and so on. Like anytime somebody, let's say for example, wants to sponsor one of our avrechim for a month, it's $2,600 or $650 a week. Now, they give the money, and most logical people would assume, okay, so they're probably, I'm donating $2,600. They're probably giving the avrech, I don't know, $1,500, $1,200, $2,000 if they're generous, and they're keeping the rest for themselves as an organization. Wrong. What ends up happening? You send $2,600. Many times we end up sending $2,800 or $2,850 or $2,900. Why? Because there's different fees that go along the way, whether it's the PayPal fee or the bank fee or the tax fee or whatever fee is there in the, just is what it is. But I want the people to get all of your money. I want the people to get all of your money. That tzaddikim, I want them to learn for you. I want them to get all of your money, and therefore we pay for it to make sure that they get all of their money. And that's one of the things that we do as an organization. It's a unique and unusual policy, but Baruch Hashem, we have the merit to do it. Next question. Charlie, how do you know when you have achieved fear of the Almighty, fear of Hashem? If you ask yourself, should I do it or not, based on the will of Hashem, meaning is this allowed, this is not allowed, should I do it, should I not do it, meaning is Hashem allow me to do it, Hashem not allow me to do it, is Hashem gonna punish me for it, not punish me. Every single action that you take that into your account, you have achieved fear of Hashem. But if you operate in your life where most of the time you don't even think about Hashem, you eat without even considering whether it's kosher or not, you just assume it's kosher because it's in your house. You don't consider your time, whether it's well spent or not. You don't consider your money, whether it's well spent or not. You don't consider your language, whether it's well spoken or not. You just operate in life, and the only times you think about Hashem is either when you're learning Torah or when you're praying. Then you may have some fear of the Almighty, but it's not enough to really call it Yirat Shamayim. So the idea is to get to a point where at the minimum, this even gets higher, but at the minimum, every action that you take from the minute you wake up until the minute you go to sleep involves Hashem and the decision process. Before you make a decision, not after. Oh, is Hashem going to punish me for what I just did? That's not really fear of the Almighty. That's already thinking about consequences. Talking about before. Asking yourself before, allowed, not allowed, and acting in accordance to that. Robert, why did Arizal, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria of blessed memory, oppose shuckling or moving during prayer? And what is the correct way to do the movements? There are different customs among Am Yisrael. Some chachamim that that dealt with, let's say, the Russian Caesars and terrorists practically that punished them severely and scared them severely, adopted the custom of not moving during their prayers because one of the requirements that was necessary in order to avoid a beating and even being murdered, is that when the soldiers and the generals of the Russian army and Poland and so on was next to you, you weren't allowed to move. Weren't allowed to move even if they hit you and so on. So some of the Chachamim, I remember hearing Moshe Feinstein was one of them, had this policy for himself that since the fear of the Russian soldier was so extraordinary that he kept silent and did not move, he says, at the minimum, I should do the same when I pray to Hashem, because fear of the Almighty. And that's how he prayed his whole life without moving, literally being like a straight arrow. Other Chachamim, on the other hand, had a different custom where they said that the chuckling is more of like symbolic of the neshama. And neshama is like fire, and fire, you'll see, fire doesn't stay still. Fire doesn't stay still. Fire moves. Fire dances. So when a person shuckles, it gives a person a certain feeling, and many times it happens on its own. It happens naturally. Like, for example, if you see me speak sometimes I'm straight and sometimes I move. This is not because I plan to move or I don't plan to move. It just happens. So some people have this in them that their neshama starts moving their body. Other people do it intentionally. I think that there are certain people that exaggerate, obviously, that they go a little bit too much, especially when they're praying, and they go like this, and it's like you're not understanding whether they're on a roller coaster or they're praying. That's a little bit extreme, but there's nothing wrong with shuckling, and there's nothing wrong with staying still. It all depends on the custom of a person and the reasons what they're doing. But whatever a person does, make sure that it's genuine, it's authentic, and it's for the sake of Hashem, and not for the sake of impressing others. Can a person conduct Pesach Seder if they're in a process of a conversion? If they are in a legitimate process of a conversion, meaning that they are, everyone is on board, the wife, the husband, everyone's on board, and they're just simply learning everything and doing everything, and they're just waiting for that day to come where they have enough knowledge, or at least they acknowledge that they have enough knowledge, and they're accepted among the community, then they need to celebrate all of the holidays 99%. But if they're just thinking that maybe one day I'm going to convert because I like it, but my husband is not ready yet, but either way, having a nice meal and calling it Pesach is still going to be fun, those types of things, it's better not to do it. It's better not to do it. It's only good to live a Jewish life if you're either already Jewish or you're in a serious process of becoming one, and not just serious in a person's mind, but also serious being acknowledged by the rabbi that's sponsoring them and other people. But nonetheless, if a person is in a serious process of conversion, not only should they conduct the Pesach, they have to, because you have to practice. And that's why usually conversions that are legitimate and have the right guidance usually take at least a year, because the sponsoring rabbi wants to have the student go through at least every holiday at least once and experience it for themselves at least once. Because a lot of times there are people that want to convert to Judaism not for the right reason, not necessarily for the wrong reason. They're not like looking to become missionaries or anything, but just because they're very idealistic. They think that once they become a Jew, maybe they'll make more money, maybe they'll find a better husband or a better wife, maybe they'll be closer to God, maybe they'll be holier, maybe God will talk to them, maybe they'll be elevated spiritually in some way. And people are very, very idealistic. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with being idealistic to a certain extent, but many times it's taken to a complete extreme, and they end up converting for the wrong reason. And unfortunately, sometimes they end up going back to where they came from. They go back to idolatry and heresy as a result of this. And this is a very, very serious problem. That's why the sponsoring rabbi is sometimes even more important than the bet din, because if the sponsoring rabbi is a joke, then it's also shows who the students are. So that's why I say, for example, on the evil clown Asher Meza and his partner Moshe Otero and all of the Reshaim that are in that organization over there here in Florida doing massive conversions as if we are Christianity, those people, they just convert anyone and everyone without looking at it twice. And it's not just me saying it, Lashon Hara. You see it from their own videos. They just go to the beach, men, women together. No one's modest. They just dip into the ocean. No big deal. Completely going against Allah in every aspect. And you see that those people that they're converting, they live like in Guantanamo Bay or something. They live in the end of the world. The closest Jew they have to them is a different state. But they figured that this brand new Jew is capable of being a Jew by himself, which is completely ludicrous. Completely ludicrous. It's just even scholars were scared of being Jews by themselves. But the point being, Abutai, is that sometimes the sponsoring rabbi misguides the people, and he tells people and gives them the impression that anyone can be a Jew no matter what, no matter where, and you should and you could and this and that, and he ends up putting the people in a very, very big dilemma that is impossible to get themselves out of. So again, it's important that if a person is going to convert, they have to take into account who is going to guide them, who is going to actually do the complete conversion, and so on and so forth, and be more concerned with that than how quickly it takes. A lot of people are very concerned about it taking quickly, and usually that's only because they're converting for idealistic reasons and not for the right reason. So I would be careful with that. According to the Torah, if Hamas keeps bombing Israeli civilians, Chas v'shalom, for no reason, does the Israeli army have the right to go into the West Bank and Gaza and conquer their lands? According to the Torah, we do not need to wait for Hamas to bomb Israeli citizens or civilians for no reason. According to the Torah, you can go there now and conquer the place. They're not going to do it because the country does not operate according to the Torah. But according to the Torah, there's no reason for any of those people to live in the land of Israel. In fact, according to the Torah, none of them are allowed to live in the land of Israel if they're not going to follow the Torah. So not the Christians or the Muslims, but unfortunately, the land of Israel is not being operated in accordance to the Torah as far as the government per se. Steve is asking, I don't recall, did you mention that Liable Wolf was a kofel? He just got invited to a local Chabad center. I don't know who Liable Wolf is. If it's the guy that said that the Rebbe runs the world, there's an old man that says that, on video, where he says that the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Alav Shalom, is running the world as if he's God. If it's the same person, then that person is not just a kofel, he's an idol worshiper. But if it's not him, then I have no idea who this Liable Wolf is. Nikolai's asking, since Bibi saved Israel's COVID situation with the vaccines, is it right to praise him? If so, how much? And doesn't that contradict the Chotzadikim of praising Rashaim if he is because he's a Mechalel Shabbat? Well, first and foremost, Bibi Netanyahu is a complete Rasha Gamur. I suspect he's actually a Messianic Jew because of just certain things that he does, and also certain people that he has around him. I don't know this for a fact, but either way, there is no din of Lashon Hara on someone that is a Mechalel Shabbat and desecrates Hashem's name as often as Bibi Netanyahu does. So don't worry about Lashon Hara or Rechilut or anything. You could say whatever you want about him or anybody like him or anybody in that government. That's one. Two, there is no praise that he deserves in anything whatsoever. He did not save Israel from COVID situation. Hashem is the one that decided to do what he did. Bibi Netanyahu did what he did for political reasons, for his own personal reasons. It had nothing to do with the people. He made a deal because of profits, because of personal benefits, and it had nothing to do with anything else. And in fact, he actually put Israel in more risk than was necessary, according to many people, because he made Israel practically the test tube experiment for the entire world, which is the last thing you want. To let the enemies be the test tube for the rest of the world. He did it. He made all of the people of Israel that won't take the vaccine into a test tube. And the truth be told, he didn't save anything, because many of the people that took the vaccine still got sick. Still some of them died, some of them this. Again, I'm not pro-vaccine or against vaccine, but for anyone to think that he saved anything or did anything, it's incorrect. Now, do we prefer Bibi Netanyahu versus Avigdor or Lapid? Yes. Not necessarily because he's better than them, but rather because it's the lesser of two evils. It's the lesser of two evils. But nonetheless, Bibi is very similar to Ben Gurion. He'll say anything just to get elected. He'll say anything just to get a deal. And just like Ben Gurion, Yimach Shimo was a Rasha Gamur, but was a fantastic politician. On one end, he made partnerships with the British that were controlling Israel at the time before it became a modern state, even though that meant that he had to report on the people that were in the Irgun and other Jews that were trying to fight for freedom. He would actually report them and get them arrested and even killed and hung by the British. But literally, and for a period of 1 month, I believe, he actually signed a deal or did a partnership with the Irgun, and in order to fight the British and cause them harm. So he's a two-faced liar, but that's also why, unless you study the history carefully, people are confused about the contributions that Ben Gurion made, because they are what's quoted in books today is the good things that he did. They don't quote the fact that he killed a bunch of Jewish people, responsible for a lot of Jewish death, and so on and so forth. He shot up the ship Altalena. He reported a lot of Jews to the British and caused many of them to die or get tortured. And in fact, he instructed his own soldiers to torture the Irgun soldiers, which were Israelis. And he instructed them to torture them before they give them over to the British in order to get more information from them. And those soldiers from Menachem Begin's Irgun, they reported that the torture of Ben Gurion and his soldiers was much worse than the torture they got from the Goyim, the British. So Bibi Netanyahu would not, miss a beat, skip a beat, if he had to do the same things and he had the same position as Ben Gurion. And anyone that followed, his history, and I can see at the time there's even a documentary about that clown, that you could just save yourself the time, and I could just tell you the end. In so many words, all the reporters, all the supporters, all of the followers say the same thing. Bibi Netanyahu will say whatever will get him votes, even if that means he has to change his mind from week to week. Meaning he has to stab in the back the very same people that he convinced last week to give him the votes. He'll stab him in the back the following week. And that's what he does. That's what his history for. But we still prefer him over Avigdor and Lapid, because it's better to have the enemy that you know than the enemy that you don't know. And he's definitely the lesser of two evils. But nonetheless, I dislike practically all politicians because of their nature is to be like ticks that suck the blood out of the people. So to praise them, if you call everything I just said praising him, then you're allowed to publicize that everywhere. Anything else? No. Thank you for being terrific. You're a true tzaddik. Oh, thank you. Chaim, someone I know asked, why can't you refer to Hashem with the feminine pronouns? What is the best way to answer this? The best way to answer this is to look at the Torah and see how Hashem refers to himself. How does Hashem refer to himself? In the Hebrew language, in the Sfat HaKodesh, the holy language, there isn't such a thing as he and she, as being the descriptions of male and female in different words. But rather, the description of masculine and feminine is done by the vowels of the same word, meaning there isn't the way that each word, the way you know whether you're speaking about a masculine or feminine entity is based on the same word being vowelized differently. The dots on the word in the Hebrew language are differently. And you see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu refers to himself predominantly as a he, not as a she. When he's referring to a she, it's referring to the Shechina. Not referring to the Almighty, Hashem himself, which again, it is not two separate things. It is in essence the feminine attribute, if you will. It's hard to explain. It's more of Kabbalistic. It's beyond the scope of this teaching. But the point being is, Hashem refers to himself as a he. And thereby we refer to Hashem as a he in our prayers, in our learning. And the only times there's a she is when we're referring to the Shechina, and that is specific and unique times. It's not during our prayer and so on. Can the Rav please explain the halachot regarding going to places where immodest girls will be? What places does this apply to? Everywhere. You're not allowed to go to a place where you know for sure there's going to be immodesty and immorality, and there's no need for you to go. Now, if that, obviously, to go to a place of a beach where there's a immodesty in the highest level is 100% forbidden. Rav Yagen Alav Shalom used to say that it's considered one of the 3 cardinal sins is to go to a mixed beach. Same thing goes with mixed dancing parties. It's areg ve'al yavor, better to die and not sin. One of the 3 cardinal sins. But to go to, let's say, a supermarket that you need to get groceries, or to go to work in a respectable job, which but in specific places where there's going to be immodesty. You live in Florida. Half the people here don't have clothes on, the other half have a little bit of clothes. So what do? Don't leave the house? No, you can leave the house, but you have to protect your eyes. The point being is you have to be smart both on a spiritual perspective and also intellectually, and know that there are certain places that it's 100% forbidden because you don't have to go there. There is another way. It's not a life risk or anything for you not to go. It's more of a life risk for you to go, and thereby it's forbidden. But if there are certain things that you have to do it because you have to conduct your way in the world, you have to go to work, you have to go to school, and unfortunately there's you have to eat. There's going to be immodest people there. Then there you're allowed to go, but you have to protect your eyes. But always think of different clever reasons of how you could avoid going to places that you don't need to go. Like, for example, I would say the overwhelming majority, and literally almost 100% of the time, my wife and I do not go to stores. We order everything, groceries, anything we need for the kids, the house, everything we order, whether it be on Amazon or other websites or the grocery store websites or the supermarkets websites. We order everything. Why? There's simply, number one, no reason to go and expose ourselves to things we don't want to see. Number two, no reason to waste the time going, coming back, looking through the why do all of that? Just save yourself the time, press a few buttons, and have the groceries arrive at your door. But some people like to go to stores. Some people like to go to malls. Some people like to do all those things. We don't necessarily need that in our lives, and we also don't want to have the headache that comes with it. So we try to order everything, literally everything, and it seems like we shop a lot because you'll see boxes next to our house on a regular basis, but we don't. It's just we do like everybody else. It's just that unlike everybody else that does their shopping on a regular basis, every day they go to work, or on the way back from work, they come back with bags every day, we simply order everything that we want. Why? Because it saves us a lot of headache, a lot of heartache, a lot of spiritual risk, and so on. So if there's ways that you can do certain things without going to a certain place, then do it. Same thing goes with school. If you can attend online school, that is the recommended. Quite frankly, I'm of the opinion, and many of the Gedolim that are much greater than I could ever be, are of the opinion that it's 100% forbidden to attend a college campus because there's the worst disasters in history happen at these college campuses, and I hear tragedies happening to religious families when they disregard the advice of the sages that say not to send their kids to colleges and university campuses. And on a regular basis, I get people sending me, Mayday messages, crying. I sent my kid to this school. He came back homosexual. He went there as a religious kid that went to the best yeshiva. He returned a homosexual psychopath. I sent my kid to this school. He came back atheist. I sent my kid to this school. He came back with a non-Jewish girlfriend. I sent my girl to that school. She came back, unfortunately, with 10 boyfriends already on her track record. I sent my kid to this school, and time again, it's every parent that sends their kids to these universities. Do not expect the kid to come back the same. Do not. Why? You're sending them not only to a place that's full of heresy, full of apikolsut, full of modesty, full of homosexuality, full of the filth of the world, including Yeshiva University and all of those so-called religious universities. All of them have this filth. But on top of that, if you're talking about some of the places where there's dorms and the UCLAs of the world and the places that have dormitories, that it's better off to send your kid to Gehenom than sending your kid to such a place. Why? Because when you go to college, and I know this from experience, so it's not some theory, and I know this from my own experience and from the experience of seeing many thousands of people in my life that have done the same thing. You go to college, all bets are off. Number one target in college is to cause as much trouble as possible. Which you don't see as trouble, you see it as fun. Drink as much as possible, drugs as much as possible, immorality as much as possible, everything as much as possible. It's like it puts Las Vegas and Sodom and Gomorrah to shame. Every college campus is full of more immorality than Sodom and Gomorrah. So when religious parents, whether they be Orthodox or modern Orthodox or whatever other version of Judaism, send their kids to university, they should know they just sent their kid to Sodom and Gomorrah, but with a guaranteed ticket to hell. For sure, unless the kid does tshuva. But most likely that kid's coming back a heretic, apikos. So my recommendation, and so is all of the Gedolim, all of them, with no exception whatsoever, will tell you, if you could avoid it, do not send your kids to these universities. That doesn't mean you shouldn't give them an education. But today, it's become standard practice, and even many say this is the way of the future, already starting today. Homeschooling, meaning you can take the university courses at home in front of your computer, which means that if you're going to continue attending or sending your kids to attend these colleges by still going to the classes, whether they're locally or at the university campus, you simply want Gehenom. You're choosing it for yourself. Why? Because you've received enough information to know it's wrong. And that's it. It's a reality. It's a reality of life. And so a person that can avoid it will avoid it. It will be smart and avoid going to all of these schools. And the same thing goes with high school and everything else, unless it's the yeshiva. But generally speaking, the people that are most close to me, that have listened carefully to the things that I've said, almost all of them that have asked advice got the same exact thing that I'm telling you right now. And Baruch Hashem, many of them took their kids out of these schools and put them in homeschooling programs and college programs that are at home, and not a single one of them complained. Everybody was much happier as a result of making this change, and they saw their life improve drastically as a result of it. Not a single person, Baruch Hashem, until this day, ever complained about making such a change. No one felt like they were missing out on anything. As far as friends and peers and things of that nature, yeah, you could still have peers and friends. Doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go to school. Anyway, it's not a place to make friends. But the point being is, a person that wants to protect their eyes, protect their neshama, does not go to places that they know for sure there's going to be sins there. Last question for the night. I have another shiur that I have to do after this. Michael, I see so many donated items in different shuls. They always show a person's name and a family's name. Would the people have any merit for their donation? Is it still a mitzvah? Or is their reward just to respect and honor their name displayed? It's a very, very good question, and very good eye that you have. The Chachamim say that a person should run away from getting any type of honor and respect for the mitzvot that he does, and the tzedakah that he gives, because if he does get the honor and respect and recognition, then he's going to cry over it when he gets to the real world of heaven, when they show him that the merit that for the mitzvah, the vast majority of it was already spent in this world, and the little bit that he's going to get in the next world is so much more that he's going to cry that he wasted so much of it. Meaning that even though the little bit that he has left is still a lot, and you can possibly imagine, but it's a fraction of what he would have gotten had he actually not gotten that honor. And of course, the more honor they get, the less merit that they have, especially if they have, a mitzvah and they put their name on it, and they press on the fact that they want people to recognize. Like somebody donates a chandelier, for $500, and they spend $50 on a sign. That's a sick person. That's a person that you should pray for to have refuah shlema. But unfortunately, many people do that, and they end up wasting a lot of their merits. I can't say they waste all of their merits. It is possible, but for sure they waste the most of it. And it's like showing up to Shamayim with a bus ticket that's full of holes, meaning it's used up already. And that's how the Chachamim describe it, where a person is going to come up to Shamayim with a used ticket, and it's going to be almost completely wasted, if not 100% wasted. And the person's going to regret it severely. And is it still a mitzvah? Yes, but again, there's a mitzvah and there's the reward. There's two separate things, and he's wasting all of the reward. Last question, what is the best way to overcome the trait of leitzanut and help others overcome it as well? The Gemara in Masechet Avodah Zarah says that the decree on people that make fun of things and are called leitzanim, like clowns, their decree is horrific. Why is it horrific? And the Gemara says it begins with suffering and it ends with complete destruction. It begins with suffering and it ends with complete destruction. People that are leitzanim, that are clowns. So if a person understands what that means, that's already enough to stop being a clown. Second of all, they should know that the people that want to be successful in life, whether it's in scholarship or it's in anything else in the world, have to be serious most of their life. You're allowed to be funny, you're allowed to be friendly, but there's a time and a place for it. People that make fun of things usually have horrific lives that are full of family problems, marriage problems, relationship problems. They get fired from their job for saying things that are inappropriate. They lose their clients because they say things that are not permissible, not appropriate, and they have a road full of suffering because they don't know how to control themselves, and they have what you call sewer mouth, where they just simply vomit everything that they think because they want to make people laugh, and for the sake of ratings and getting people to say they're funny, they in essence destroy their own lives and the people that are most dear to them. So you'll see that generally speaking, if you look in the psychology world, psychologists say many times that comedians, people that are professional comedians, usually are the most depressed people, and they use comedy, they use leitzanut as a defense mechanism in order to hide their depression. Hence the reason of why people like Robin Williams, that had, probably been the most successful comedian in history, committed suicide by hanging himself with his own belt, in a vicious, horrific way. So it's he was depressed and funny, but his depression wasn't funny. So it's important for a person to know that to be a leitzan, to be a clown, is not conducive to your marriage. It's not conducive to your success in serving Hashem. But there is a time and place for it, and there are people that know how to utilize comedy in the right way. They get rewarded for it, especially when they're making people laugh at an appropriate time. There is a certain mitzvah for such people. But again, you have to know how to do it, when to do it, and to even do it the right way. Meaning you can't make fun of people and embarrass them in order to make people laugh. You can't desecrate Hashem's name in order to make people laugh. You have to also know how to be a leitzan, how to be funny. And that in itself requires a person to learn Torah. But surely for just most people that are just like to make fun of anything and everything, it's a sign of immaturity, stupidity, ignorance, and unfortunately also destruction that's coming. So highly recommended for a person to control themselves and learn how to grow up. Beseder Rabotai Yikarim, hopefully this was enough to give each one of us chizuk. I got some chizuk, but I'm a little bit weak right now physically, so I have to take a little bit of break before my next shiur. BeEzrat HaShem, each one of you will have the chizuk that you need from this lecture, not only to learn from it, to do what it says, but also to spread it and share it everywhere. BeEzrat Hashem, each one of you will have a fantastic Shavuot, accept something on yourself to do more as part of the marriage ceremony between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, accepting the Torah. And BeEzrat Hashem, we have a big celebration this next couple of days to celebrate the Torah and have something to celebrate for. And BeEzrat Hashem, that will give enough good in the world that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will remove the decrees. Last but not least, remember, Yom Tov, for everybody that doesn't live in the Israel, is 2 days. 2 days, and you have to keep 2 days. That's in the if a person lives in an area where there's an Orthodox synagogue, you should go, because there are unique prayers in Shavuot. You have to follow it, you have to do it, and BeEzrat Hashem, you'll succeed. Next week there is no shiurim. There's no shiurim next week, so we'll see you guys in BeEzrat Hashem in 2 weeks, or a week and a half, BeEzrat Hashem. So have a fantastic week. Have a Shabbat Shalom. Have a extraordinary Chag Sameach, Shavua Tov. Of course, when it's a regular day, we'll continue publishing new videos. You'll have new material to watch. But as far as the live shiur, we'll have BeEzrat Hashem not this Sunday, but the following Sunday, BeEzrat Hashem. B'cha v'atzlacha to everyone, and kol tov.
אהוביי, אחיי ואחיותיי היקרים, ארגון בעזרת השם עקב המצב הנורא כאן בארץ ישראל לקח על עצמו לדאוג למינימום 4,500 נפשות בכל רחבי הארץ. מי שקורא את החדשות רואה דברים מזעזעים. לא רק שיש משפחות שנפגעו מהקורונה ועכשיו התחילו להתאושש, לא רק שיש משפחות אבלות מאסון מירון קרובים ורחוקים, לא רק שיש כל מיני בעיות תמידיות שמקיפים את העם היושב בארץ הקדושה, פתאום פרצה האינתיפאדה. האינתיפאדה הנוראה שיש אנשים שמפחדים לצאת. בחוץ תשקל חרב ומחדרים אימה. כאן בירושלים נפל אתמול 3 רקטות, ממש מטרים ספורים מאיפה שאנחנו גרים. יש ערבים שבאים וצועקים את שנאת ישראל, מגדפים, וחלקם אפילו עשו לינצ'ים. לינץ' פגעו באכזריות ביהודים. קיבלתי הודעה שאחד מהמשפחות שדאגנו להם בפעמים הקודמות, תפסו אותם ערבים, את ראש המשפחה תפסו, חתכו לו חצי אוזן. אז ארגון בעזרת השם רוצה לעזור לכל המשפחות. ארגון בעזרת השם רוצה לתמוך בכל הנפגעים, בכל הפצועים, בכל המקומות, ובאנשים שהם במשך כל השנה הם נזקקים. עזרו לנו לעזור להם. כל ההכנסות קודש לצדקה. 100% צדקה. לא לוקחים אחוזים, ואפילו את העמלות הארגון ברוב הפעמים סופג על עצמו. לכן אהוביי, מי שרוצה לעשות צדקה, צדקה תציל ממוות, לבוא ולהגן עליו ועל משפחתו. בשעות הקשות הללו, זה המקום וזו השעה.
אנשים יקרים, לאחר ששמענו את דברי הרב כחלון, שהוא מדבר ומספר על המצב שאנחנו נמצאים בו היום. אנחנו לקראת חלוקה של שבועות, לעזור למשפחות נזקקות. עכשיו לא רק שהן נזקקות, הן גם מפוחדות. חלקם התקפי חרדה, ילדים מפחדים ללכת ללימודים, ההורים מפחדים לצאת לעבוד. רק אתמול אחד מהאנשים, כמו שהרב סיפר, שהיה צריך לקבל סל מזון לבית, אתמול הוא חזר מהעבודה, זרקו עליו אבנים והוא נפגע גם בגולגולת, גם נחתך לו האוזן, שברו לו את הרכב. ממש המצב לא פשוט ולא קל. אנחנו זקוקים לסיוע. יש עוד מאות משפחות שזקוקות לעזרה, לסלי מזון לקראת החג. יש לנו כמה נקודות בארץ. הארגון מנסה לדאוג כמה שיותר, אבל שוב פעם אני חוזרת, אנחנו זקוקים עדיין לתרומות. אני רק אחת מהשליחות של הארגון שמנסה באזור שלנו לסייע למשפחות שיהיה להם מה לאכול. וכואב הלב לשמוע שממש המקרר שלהם ריק והארונות ריקים, והם צריכים את העזרה שלכם, ועכשיו זה הזמן לעשות את המצווה הזאת. העובדים הצדיקים שלנו עוזרים לנו לאסוף סלי מזון, לסדר אותם. יש לנו כאן שפע של מוצרי חלב, של מוצרים שיהיה להם לבית, שיוכלו לבשל לפחות, והשם יעזור שיהיה טוב בעזרת השם. הכל תודות לרב ירון ראובן, הרב אפרים כחלון, הרבנית שרה כחלון, שתמיד נרתמים לעזרה. יש פה מצבים מאוד מאוד קשים. ילדה שפשוט בכתה לאמא שהבטן שלה כואבת, ולא בגלל שתקף אותה חיידק או וירוס, זה בגלל שהיא עולה לישון רעבה. וזה כל כך כואב לאמא או לאבא לשמוע שהילדים שלהם רעבים. הקורונה ריסקה אותנו, כמו שהרב כחלון אומר, ועכשיו עוד המצב הזה שיש לאינתיפאדה, אנשים לא יודעים מה לעשות. לפחות נדאג להם לאוכל, נעבור את החג, והקדוש ברוך הוא יעזור לנו שהכל יסתיים על הצד הטוב ביותר, ושיהיה פחות נפגעים. אז תורמים יקרים, אנחנו חייבים את העזרה שלכם עכשיו בכל הכוח. שוב פעם אני חוזרת, מאות משפחות זקוקות לסיוע, אנשים צריכים אוכל לחג, אז מה שתוכלו לעזור ולהירתם זה חסד עצום. זה הזמן, זה צו השעה, שהשם מברך אתכם ושיהיה בשורות טובות. הגעתי כאן למשפחה, ולא סתם משפחה, משפחה מדהימה, אמא ואבא שמגדלים שתי ילדים יתומים שהם נמצאו, נקלעו למצב כלכלי מאוד מאוד קשה, ואנחנו לקחנו אותם כפרויקט, הארגון לקח אותם כפרויקט לעזור להם בחגים ולעוד עשרות משפחות. בנוסף לכל, המשפחה אתמול עברה טלטלה מאוד מאוד קשה. מסתבר שלא מספיק מה שעברנו שבוע שעבר ברבי שמעון בר יוחאי, אנחנו גם מוקפים בבני מיעוטים שרוצים לעשות לנו רע, ובעלה של הגברת שנמצאת כאן לידי, זרקו עליו סלעים אתמול, הוא חזר מהעבודה ופשוט שברו לו את הרכב, הגולגולת שלו נסדקה, נחתכה לו האוזן, השם ישמור. איכשהו יצא בנס, היא כמעט התעלפה פה, אני פה לידה, ממש היא דומת, היא עדיין בהלם ממה שקרה, ואנחנו כאן חייבים לעזור להם. שאין להם איך לעשות אחר, כי אפילו הוא לא יכול לקום עכשיו מהמיטה ללכת לעבוד מהטראומה שהוא עבר, והוא לא מרגיש טוב. אז הארגון היקר, ישר פניתי לרב ירון ראובן שיסייע להם גם בגלל מה שאנחנו עוברים וגם לקראת חג שבועות במה שאפשר, כדי שיהיה להם לפחות קצת טוב לקראת החג. היא כאן, היא רוצה להודות לכם, לארגון בעזרת השם ולרב ירון בפרט והרב כחלון.
אני רוצה באמת להודות לרב ירון, לרב כחלון, לכל התורמים. זה ממש מחמם את הלב ככה לקבל לפני החג ובטח אחרי כל מה שעברנו. כל דבר קטן זה אור גדול, באמת. ממש תודה רבה לכם על הכל, שיהיה לכם שפע תמיד לתת.
חברים, אנחנו עדיין זקוקים לתרומות שלכם. חסרים לנו עוד סלי מזון. זה מאוד מאוד חשוב. אנחנו זקוקים לעוד תרומות. יש עשרות משפחות שאין להם איך לעשות חג, ואנחנו חייבים לתת אחד למען השני. גם כל הקורונה שגרמה לנו לקריסה, גם מה שאנחנו עוברים עכשיו עם האינתיפאדה והטילים, אנשים מפחדים לצאת לעבודה, לצאת למקומות, ממש מפוחדים, זקוקים לעזרה שלכם, תורמים יקרים, במיוחד מי שגר בחוץ לארץ, שעדיין בטוח והכל, אנחנו צריכים את העזרה שלכם. הנה, הם רוצים להגיד לכם תודה רבה, יש פה ילד חמוד ומקסים, הוא רוצה להודות לכם, הוא שמח, קורן מאושר.
באמת תודה רבה על כל השפע והדברים וכל החג. זה באמת עוזר לנו ושעוזר לי ללמוד בישיבה. ברוך השם, זה עוזר לנו.
יופי, והגברת פה נחמדה גם איתנו, היא גם רוצה להגיד כמה מילים.
תזכו למצוות, שהשם ייתן לכם שפע ובריאות ורק שמחה ושמחות, ויחזיר לכם בכפל כפליים על כל הטוב שאתם עושים כל חג.
תורמים יקרים, הגענו כאן לעוד בית לשמח אותם, והבעל נמצא איתי, הוא רוצה להודות לכם על כל השפע שארגנתם לו לכבוד החג.
תודה רבה, באמת זה מאוד משמח את הלב, וכמה זה עוזר וכמה זה מחמם את הלב שיש אנשים טובים שמוכנים לתרום מהכיס שלהם בשביל לשמח יהודים אחרים, וזה מאוד משמח את הלב, וזה מאוד מאוד עוזר, בפרט בתקופות כאלה שהייתה תקופה ארוכה גם של קורונה ואנשים לא עבדו, אז אנשים פתאום מתחילים להעריך כל דבר, כל שקל אנשים מתחילים להעריך. אז באמת תודה רבה לכל מי שנתן, השם ישמח אתכם וייתן לכם פי מיליון.
תורמים יקרים, אנחנו רוצים להראות לכם מה עשיתם עבור עוד משפחה קשת יום, משפחה ברוכת ילדים שבקושי מסיימת את החודש. מצב אצלם בבית מאוד מאוד קשה והם לא מצליחים לסגור את החודש, ושימחתם אותם כאן בעוד סל מפנק לקראת החג, והם רוצים להגיד לכם תודה רבה. ואני אגיד לכם משהו, אנשים היום קמו לתוך פחד שהמלחמה תחזור. אנשים מפחדים ללכת לעבודה, ילדים מפחדים ללכת לבתי ספר, חלק מהבתי ספר מושבתים. אנחנו עושים חלוקות בכל הארץ, אם זה בבאר שבע, ואם זה בנתניה, ואם זה בירושלים, ואנשים פשוט מפחדים ולא יודעים מה לעשות. לא מספיק המצב קשה, המקרר ריק, הארונות ריקים. אז עכשיו נקלענו למצב הזה, זקוקים לעזרה שלכם, אנחנו זקוקים לעוד תרומות. יש עוד עשרות משפחות שאין להם איך לעשות את החג, בבקשה ממכם, ורק דרך הארגון היקר של בעזרת השם, של הרב ירון ראובן, אנחנו יכולים להכיל עוד עשרות משפחות, כי הרב הזה מוסר את נפשו כדי להכיל ולתת למשפחות האלה. אני התקשרתי אליו ואמרתי לו, הרב ירון, אנחנו פה צריכים את העזרה של הרב, כדי שהמשפחות האלה יוכלו לחייך. כואב הלב כשאני צריכה לשמוע אמא אומרת איתה, לילדה שלי כואבת הבטן, ולא בגלל שיש לילדה הזאת וירוס, בגלל שהיא רעבה, ואנחנו צריכים לתת אחד לשני. אז יש פה אמא מדהימה שהיא רוצה להגיד לכם תודה רבה.
ממש תודה רבה לכם הרב ירון, ותודה רבה על כל הסלים המפנקים, ובאמת אנחנו ממש מפחדים לצאת מהבית מכל המהומות, והילדים שלי מפחדים ללכת לתלמוד תורה. המצב פה ממש לא פשוט, ותודה רבה ששימחתם אותנו, באמת תודה רבה מכל הלב.
תורמים יקרים, ארגון בעזרת השם, הגענו כאן לעוד בית לשמח משפחה, אם חד-הורית שעוברת קשיים מאוד מאוד קשים. והיא בעצמה במצב נפשי לא הכי קל, היא מגדלת ילד עם בעל צרכים מיוחדים ועוד ילדים, ורוצה להגיד לכם תודה רבה שעזרתם לה.
אין לי מילים להודות לכם, תודה רבה לכם, אני ממש עזרתם לי לחג, אני ממש במצב כלכלי מאוד קשה, אני חד-הורית עם 3 ילדים קטנים, זה פשוט מציל אותי, תודה, אני פשוט מתרגשת.
הנה אחד הילדים שלה כאן, הוא כל כך מאושר לקבל את כל המוצרים האלה לקראת החג. אתה רוצה להגיד משהו חמוד?
תודה רבה.
אתה שמח שיש לך עכשיו אוכל?
כן.
וזה רק שלך, אתה יודע?
כן.
ואתה לא תעלה לישון רעב. כן? אתה שמח עכשיו?
כן.
יופי.
תודה רבה.
תודה רבה, תזכו למצוות, זה ממש הצעת נפשות בשבילנו.
הנה גם הילד הקטן כאן הגיע כל כך שמח, הוא לא מרגיש טוב, הוא רעב, ואמא היקרה שלו עכשיו הולכת להכין לו ארוחת צהריים מפנקת.
About helping us for Yom Tov, with all this food. I don't know what we will do without you. The matzah is not easy because of the bump, and we're scared to go to work. I'm scared of my children to go to school, and it's not easy. And you put lights in our life by giving us such a beautiful package for Yom Tov, and I would like to thank you for me, my husband, and my children. And I should give you many nachas, tzluchat lanuse, BeEzrat HaShem, and thank you so much today. Yagun BeEzrat HaShem.
הגענו כאן לעוד משפחה, ברוכת ילדים. האמא רוצה כל כך להודות לכם, כל החסד שאתם עושים איתה. בדיוק היא סיפרה לי היום שלא...
לא יצא כסף בכספומט, ולילד היה היום טיול, ומשמיים, בגלל שכל מה שקורה במדינה, אז הטיול התבטל.
גם הילדים מפוחדים ללכת לתלמוד תורה עם כל ההזקות, כל מה שאנחנו עוברים. לא פשוט, אנשים מפחדים ללכת לעבודה, אז הצלתם אותם, עזרתם להם.
תודה לרב ירון ולכל התורמים, באמת, עשיתם לנו את החג, ממש כל הכבוד לכם. שהקדוש ברוך הוא ישפיע עליכם רק שפע טוב.
שתמיד תהיו מהצד של הנותנים ולא הנזקקים, שאף פעם לא תדעו מה זה נזקק, שתמיד יהיה לכם שפע, אושר, ברכה, כל הישועות בזכות החסד הענק שאתם תורמים באמת למשפחות שאין להם. אין, אני אישית יודעת על הבשר שלי איך זה לקום בבוקר ואי חשק לקום, שאתה יודע שאין לך כסף לקנות לילדים אוכל לבוקר, לבית ספר, הבן חוזר מהישיבה, צריך לאכול, הבעל חוזר מהעבודה או מהכולל, במיוחד בזמן של קורונה, הוא לא עובד בכלל. הקורונה דרסה לנו את החיים, פשוט ריסקה אותנו. בעלי עצמאי והוא לא עובד שנה פלוס, נקנענו לחובות עצומים. אין, אני לא אעריך יותר במילים, רק פשוט תודה, 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 שמברך אתכם, ניתן לכם רק שפע, מעריכה את כל שקל שאתם נותנים, בזכות זה יהיה לכם רק טוב, תזכו לכל הישועות, אמן.